to you about the overlap co-working hackerspaces and makerspaces. Co-working is more of the business setup where everybody shares space and works on their individual project, usually also has to do with their job. Hackerspaces are traditionally more electronics-based, software-based, and makerspaces are more data sort of. I think makerspaces are hackers that are scared of the word hacker, but that's the point. So as different as the focus is for all of these, they're still structured on the same sort of things, same sorts of things. We have membership documents. I'm not used to so we have to worry about membership documents, so what people get in exchange for what they give, and how they're expected to behave in the space, take care of the space, things like that. Keep using it. This is funny. I'm getting this out of the way so we can continue. Accounting, finding someone who's as interested in double entry bookkeeping as they are in being a part of a PowerBook is actually more difficult to find than you might think. And bylaws, basically like a job description. If you write it correctly, you get to do all the things you want to do and none of the things you don't, but they're also overwhelming and necessary if you want 501c3. Also insurance is really important, but explaining to an insurance agent that it's okay that you have 24/7 access with power tools and your late kids, they really don't like that. But we get to have membership. There's great communities that spring out of these places. Collaboration, both between members and between spaces within the same community. And outreach. What other things exist around you? Artist communities, education groups, things like that, and also the spaces across the US and the globe. So I am one of 5 spaces who have banded together to kind of learn from each other in this in a very explicit way. So the first one of these was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is BucketWorks. Started in 2002, mostly co-working spaces run by a gentleman named James Carlson. There's even a subsection of it that's a for-profit arm where people who have learned to work together very well now get to do the things they love and make paid doing it. The second of them was in Seattle, Washington, and that's Jigsaw Renaissance. We moved into a space officially January 1st of this year, and we have grown to 57 members in that short amount of time, mostly because anytime I had to think about membership documents, or I don't even know about zoning, or we had this situation and I don't know what to do, I would call up James or someone else at BucketWorks, and they would just send me things. Make the process is much, much easier. Next in Madison is Sector 67, they're opening very, very soon, or they've just opened.
We had an open house.
Had an open house, okay.
But we're not open.
Okay, we've been having conversations with them as well. And they, I think, are under the fiscal sponsorship umbrella of School Factory, as is Jigsaw and BucketWorks, and as will be Creative Contraction in Dallas, Texas, which is aiming to open in 2011.
That's where that's Kiki. Kiki left here and went to Dallas.
Yeah.
She's working on that.
And also Madeline.
Well, that's
Madeline is Kiki.
Oh, okay. Cool. I know.
Why, I don't know.
That's okay. And then in Chicago, Pumpkin Station 1 has been around since 2009, but they're participating in this so that they have fiscal sponsorship until their 501c3 goes live, because it takes a year to get and then 2 years after that before it's useful at all. And then they have figured out a lot of things, and so they've been dedicating time and energy to these other emerging spaces. So these are all grouped under an organization called the School Factory, which was also started by James, who did BucketWorks. He did the fiscal sponsor and the space as 2 separate organizations, so that he would have to worry about different things at different times rather than get wrapped up in one thing and let the other one go fallow. And it's called the School Factory because we really have this overarching vision that spaces like these are taking over where schools are failing. It's a lifelong learning. We don't care about what age you are or what your background is. You can teach and you can learn. And it should be whatever you're passionate about. It's project-based. And while there are some charter schools and some high-end schools that are starting to do this, like Montessori is one way that people are starting to realize that you actually have to touch things in order to learn about them and mean something. be a little bit more involved. Spaces like these are where people go when what they have isn't working for them. So we want to help more spaces like these emerge. And we do that in a couple ways. We have a Yammer, which is like Twitter for internal networks. So that's, hey, there's a guy sleeping on my couch at Jigsaw when we don't like people sleeping here. Has anybody else run into this? Because I know my methods of dealing with that are a little bit harsh, and maybe there are better ways to go about it. But also just talking to people who are in the same boat as you is really, really nice. And then you can chat with them for a long time about the process when the membership doesn't necessarily really care, they just want to use the space. We're also building a constellation survey. It's called Constellation because it's patterns between spaces, and I like puns, to figure out the quantitative patterns that are emerging. Because as people who are really wrapped up in this, we are not necessarily going to see all the patterns that actually exist. And out of the conversations and the hard data, we're building a mega space kit, which will allow new spaces to basically like press button, have space over the course of 18 months. So there's discovery, formation, the third one I always forget, and then outreach. So you have all these things that need to happen during each one. And it's not a franchising, and it's not a federation of these spaces. Each of them needs to be independent. We all live in very different culturally structured places. So all of them need to be their own thing, but we want to be a place to go to if you need help or if you want to talk to people who are doing similar things. And yeah, that's it. So if you want to get involved, I'm happy to put you on the Yammer and contribute however you can and spread the word, because it's physically impossible for me to get to every space I know of, and there are a lot of them that I don't know of. And if I spend as much time as I need to, then my cat and friends hate me because I'm never home.
Yeah, and they're popping up everywhere.
Yes, they are. They're popping up everywhere, and they can be a great resource. I do a whole nother talk about how having multiple spaces in the same city is a really good thing, but we're so socialized into having false economy, false scarcity, that we get really protective and like, well, if people are members over there, then they're not going to be members over here, and then we're screwed, and there will be members in both places. So in Seattle, we're working on a universal key card system, where if you're a member in one place, or if you get a passport to the Seattle spaces, you just beep into any of them. Because at Jigsaw, we can't have open flame, we can't have welding classes, but Hazard Factory, that's what they do. They make things explode. Please go over there. And when their membership needs to do soldering without metal particles falling from the air, they come to Jigsaw.
Is that a side effect of the space, or not being able to open flame?
Jigsaw is located in a storefront location. We are zoned as retail, which has been really interesting. What we sell is membership.
Usually sell t-shirts.
Well, actually, that would fuck with our insurance. If you sell physical objects, then your insurance goes up because you have an inventory.
Stuff that's
They're
valuable that
safeguarding.
can, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we can sell membership, but we can't sell objects. But we can host objects of things that people in a space build, and then you can buy them online at that computer. It's really bizarre. But these are the things that we talk about on the Yammer, is that I wouldn't have known that, but I had to go through all the research. So you guys shouldn't have to do that. It's done.
I don't even know what we're zoned. Are we industrial?
You're probably light industrial.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Given all the businesses around here. Yeah, we've been in some discussions. There's a local nonprofit law firm or law thing. I forgot the name now. Southern Legal Arts Council.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the board here, and we've been chasing down the 501c3.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, trying to figure out all the liability issues
Yeah.
we talked about, because we're still not sure. The silly things like, are waivers worth it? Because the opinions seem to vary heavily,
Yeah.
and that's even like what lawyer you go to.
Yeah.
Is yes, you must have waivers signed, or no, they're not worth the paper they're printed on.
What we figured out is that, at least in Seattle, and of course it varies by state, is that a blanket waiver is necessary. Do not sign people off on tools. Don't have specific things that people are certified for, because then if you miscertify someone, they can sue you, and if they do things
Hmm.
that they weren't certified for, then they're suing you because you weren't enforcing the certification, like all this other stuff, it's just like doing the
That's interesting because we finally got to the point here that we've got enough tools that we want to start saying, okay, we want to check people out on tools.
Right. So one way to do that is to, if that's the route you want to take, is to have an RFID, the same thing that we're going to have on our door, a jigsaw, but it locks the tools. And so it's tied to your key card. Will this even turn on based on the card that you have? But I don't like to lock things down. I like everything together.
Right.
One of the things about banding together in spaces, even if it's informally, is that then when we go to insurance agents and when we try to have zoning laws that cover these things, if there's an established subculture that this is based, not even subculture, but an established group of people that need this and we've shown that we're good for the local economy and we're good for the community, insurance agents have to have a designation for us. And your city government is more likely to give you money for being an art space when you're able to show what that is. Cool, any questions? I can stall until the other person gets here still.
Dance.
I practice this in front of the mirror every day.
So Hazard just like blows shit up.
Does he know about like
Hazard Factory, is that what it's called?
Hazard Factory is run by a gentleman named Rusty Oliver. It's out of Seattle. Their two main events every year are Smash Putt, which is like putt-putt but with explosions and beer.
Okay.
And then they have drag racing.
Power tool drag racing?
Once a year it's Power Tool drag racing. The other 6-month mark is sex toy drag racing. So we had the issue at HackerBot, which is another space in Seattle, where we had turned a power tool into a sex toy, and we were like, which one do we enter this in? This is gonna be awesome.
The answer is yes.
Yes, it's true. But Rusty is fantastic. It's more of a
Rusty is
project-based
the
space.
tool?
No, Rusty is the guy that runs Hazard Factory.
What's your name?
I named it after you. No.
Davis.
That is interesting. We've actually been thinking about doing carpool drag racing as a fundraiser here.
Yeah.
Because it seems like a pretty clear win.
Yeah.
But there's a group who, I don't know if they started it, but they've been doing it for quite some time. I think they actually Google power tool drag racing, they come up. I don't know if it's the same people.
I don't know. It might be. And if it is Rusty at Hazard Factory, he's so open to interspace collaboration.
Yeah.
We should even probably start taking that to Maker Fairs, or at least one of the Maker Fairs.
Did you guys make it to the Detroit Maker Faire?
I did not, but I will be in New York for theirs, and I was in San Mateo for them.
I want to get to New York, but it doesn't seem possible right now.
What is it?
I want to get to New York, but it doesn't seem possible right now. I just checked flights, so like $500.
Yeah.
I did not pay for mine.
I know we've got flights. I'm really thinking of going to DC for the Daily Show rally they're doing.
Yeah, I'm tempted on that one too.
I'm gonna see how much the train is.
It's too expensive. It takes too long. I can answer that later.
The train from
Right.
Atlanta to New York is like 126.
Is it not that bad?
I mean, it's a 17-hour ride.
Well, I mean, if I can have my notebook and start coding and get a day's worth of stuff done.
I don't think Amtrak has Wi-Fi yet, though.
I don't need Wi-Fi for Twitter.
It's not too bad. We tried to go from
Via
Miami to Atlanta
keyboard.
via Amtrak. And when I looked, you had to go to New Orleans and up through Alabama to get to Atlanta. It was some ridiculous. Like,
What?
really?
To get from where to where?
Miami to Atlanta?
Yeah, you can't go straight. You have to go to New Orleans.
Yeah.
You have to go up the coast and then this way. But New Orleans to Atlanta on the train is fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could road trip up to the Million Water Gorge.
So you keep your alive march.
Yes.
That one was great. Take it down a notch from there. But yeah, the power tool drag racing looks really interesting. I've hesitated to do it just because, again, liability concerns. If somebody gets a belt sander in the forehead.
Well, that's the thing is you have to have signs everywhere that are like, by the way, if you come within 40 feet of this sign, you are at risk for your life, sort of
You
thing.
could get maimed.
Yeah. So Hazard Factory, they're a project-based space, and so Rusty, it's basically his studio. It's
Okay.
a huge warehouse space, and he's opening up a little bit more to people that just want to use it for their own projects. But generally, it's I just got commissioned for this work. If you want to learn how to use these tools, or if you want to get your hands dirty, then these are the things that I need fulfilled.
Okay.
Interesting.
And so he's the one who pays for all the materials and space, etc. But if you just want to go in and work on something, then he builds amazing pieces of kinetic art.
Okay. Very cool.
What was the space? I can't remember if it was San Francisco or I swear it was California, but there was a big fire and the fire marshal came down and shut them down. But they had like workshops where shipping containers actually.
Oh, that's
sat.
Lotus something. It's where the Lotus. I can't remember the name. It starts with Lotus. Like Lotus Sisters or something like that. It's in San Fran.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
know it was West Coast.
I don't know that one. I know the Crucible, but a
It's where the Lotus Flowers or Sisters have their shit, and they make these giant flame-breathing structures.
Oh,
your
nice.
tickets to New York one way is $156.
3. That's not bad. It's cheaper than the plane.
About how
18 hours.
Bottle of Jack Daniels and
You'll be.
But that's a train ticket? How much is it for a plane ticket though? 'Cause I was just
500
looking-
round trip.
On what airline? Because
All
I
of
think it
them.
was JetBlue, but you can't search Kayak or Orbitz to find it. That had a flight for you yet tomorrow for like $200.
JetBlue doesn't.
Um,
285, yeah.
Yeah.
JetBlue doesn't fly out of Atlanta. They fly out of Charlotte or Birmingham.
Although
No,
a
that's
couple
not-
hours over to Birmingham,
Yeah.
it's not too bad.
I'll have to check Birmingham to New York. But usually the flights are cheaper, but they actually stop over in Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's the same exact
I was
flight.
just looking at some flights and it seemed like all of them were like stopping in Charlotte. I would specifically to go to New York tomorrow.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was pricey to get, especially a direct flight was going to be like $400 at least.
I have a friend who went to school here. Her parents were in New Orleans, so she used to buy tickets to Miami because they were surprisingly cheap. But it was a connection through Atlanta, so she just never checked bags, get off the plane in Atlanta, and leave. And it saved her like $150 versus a direct flight. It was ridiculous.
And she probably got on some watch list too.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, if you don't mind, we've got a project midway in the back. It's going to go clean up real quick. We'll come back here by that time this gentleman should have arrived. And
Cool.
Yeah.
does that work out?
That's great.
Great. Now, have you heard about or worked on anything about getting hackerspaces involved with like first robotics programs or something like that?
That actually happens in a lot of them already, but it would be.
I mean, long.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if you could get that a little bit more organized.
Hey, Peter.
The issue really has to do with whether or not people in the space are already involved in this products.
Right.
Hello!
Are you the guy that's coming in from Savannah?
Yes, I'm coming in from Spanish.
Spanish.
Yes.
So yeah, I I3
That's what you have in the back.
Okay.
The hunt down.
So I also have this interesting thing where I'm going to get back to Wisconsin in a couple of months, and then next year I'm going to Chicago. So I'm going to start hanging at Pumping Station. So I'm getting my own tour at hackerspaces just for work.
Yeah.
The guys at Pumping Station are pretty cool.
Yeah.
My wife went to. They just had a open science
Yeah.
talk that actually not a lot of people showed for, unfortunately. But so she's actually been to the hackerspace before I have.
Yeah.
And she
That's-
was met Jordan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably.
Probably Jordan came through
With the
this.
Demand project.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
time last year. And he was through. That's somehow Kiki was at Pumping Station 1, then came here, and then is now out in Dallas.
Yeah.
So, like Jordan and his buddies are all pretty cool. Those guys are fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Bilal is. Oh my god.
And then are you guys making it out to Huntsville at all?
We've done Yeah, we've basically done sets of 4. When we were in California, it was LA, and then we did 3 spaces in San Francisco, and then Downhill for a couple days, and then I flew out of Seattle at 5:15 in the morning, arrived in Detroit in time to go to the venue and didn't tell. Like, that's what kind of trip it's been.
Wow.
So we're shoving as many as we can in a row, but that's one of the things where it's like we'll be posting the video, we're live streaming every time. Just because we can't physically make it to the spaces, we still want them to be aware of what's up.
Gotcha. Did you find our bathroom reading material? Very interesting.
I did, and I just, the circuit bending book,
Oh no, that circuit bending book's a piece of shit.
Really?
Yeah, I run the circuit bending workshop here. That's monthly.
Really?
That one will tell you how to perform bends on specific toys.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's good that way, but it's all this like mythical, like the magic in the machine type crap. If you want a good book, go pick up Handmade Music.
Handmade music?
Yes,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Alright.
I gave
I
a quick
think
overview
that's
while
what
we
it's
were
called.
waiting about how Hypermaker
I just started
co-working
getting
with our spaces.
into circuit bending a little bit.
Well, you'll get to the point to where you're buying things off of eBay just to bend them.
Yeah.
I've got an SK1 up there that I'm working on. I've also got an SH11, which is the Yamaha guitar that's pulse width modulation that you can actually cut.
Okay, awesome.
Like the major bend is you cut these circuits and then you can have a patch panel
Nice.
that you build and
Yeah,
patching and like these clock signals all over the
I'm trying to
place
cut down on my travel.
and then screw around. But you can get pretty in depth if you start going down like a circuit bending road.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm
barely
visiting
just
for
started
second
scratching the
semester.
surface. I just kind of
But I'm in Atlanta.
understood what it was recently for the first time, and I was like, whoa, that's cool. Because I've got a ton of synths and stuff like that. I've just never opened them up.
Well, if you've got any Korg of the Poly series, like the Poly 6, the Poly 800, or the Poly 61, you can bend those.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Moog Slayer. I've got a Poly 800 up there that I'm working on. You can do what's called the Moog Slayer mod.
Yeah.
It's where you get real-time control on the cutoff and resonance.
Drew Nelson, 112@gmail.
And I didn't actually know that Chris was working with this group already as part of the 5.
Yeah.
So I need to catch up with Chris. It's been a little while since I've had a good chat with him.
Oh yes, and thank you all for waiting.
Oh, no worries.
Appreciate that.
It was a pretty relaxed group. So you're like, sure, no worries.
Yeah, that's about how we do things around here.
Fortunately, we have extra time today. So, I guess we're gonna wait for.
Those guys,
Yep.
yeah.
They appear to be. I don't think they were coming back over here. I certainly got that impression. I can verify.
They said they were cleaning up and then coming back.
Yeah.
Because they got distracted by nicotine.
But what?
Got distracted by nicotine.
Ah, no, they'll be back by they'll after they do that, they'll be back. He was just in town speaking at Dragon Con.
Yeah, I heard.
It was
Who?
Adam
Adam
Savage. I didn't go to the talk. I heard it was really funny.
He
Yeah.
gives great talk.
Yeah.
He talked at DEF CON 2 days ago, but no one ever goes to talk at DEF CON.
I was gonna ask what you have written in hex on your arm.
That one says all else will follow.
Okay.
And the Saul Williams line, just breathe and all else will follow.
Okay.
Reminds me of the children work out.
Cool. thought about getting Hex. I don't know. Interesting one to do.
Well, initially I was going to, the first one was this one,
Yeah.
and I was going to get it in binary, and I went to the tattoo shop, and the guy was just like, okay, never mind. How about X? It'd be much shorter.
I think they're getting distracted by the sandblasting cabinet.
Oh, is that what they're doing back there?
Yeah, they're finishing up the sandblasting cabinet finally after like 3 months.
That's awesome. 3 months?
Ish.
It's been a lot more longer than that, from what I've heard.
Well.
Hey, you
3
know the
months.
criticism I don't need? All of yours.
I didn't know you were in here, Peter.
Yeah, check your noise hole.
Also, I found a guy that'll powder coat shit for us in the space.
Excellent.
E19, they do powder coating every now and then. But it's only black, so if you want to powder coat it in black, it's small.
Well, you can get the other powder, it's not hard.
Well, yeah.
Growing.
Should we do this other part?
Yeah.
All right. Why am I here? I feel like that.
Somewhat deep for a Sunday evening.
It really is a little bit, you know.
This is fantasy for though. It gives you a
Yes.
sense of epicness.
Yes.
Necessary.
My name is Johnny Diggs. I am the co-founder and chief technology officer of Voxeo. We're based in Orlando. We're here to talk about a thing that I used to call Geeks Without Borders. Now I call GloveBorg because there is a Geeks Without Borders that exists in Oregon, and he made it very clear that he didn't want us using the name, so we're coming up with a new one. But for now, we're GloveBorg, which is our domain name. About a year ago, I realized that that maybe we could be using wielding the powers of hacking and geeking for good. I guess the idea started a few years ago when Katrina came through New Orleans, and there was a blog, a live journal blog of a group of guys that had like a web hosting data center inside New Orleans, and they stuck around during the whole thing and had generators running, and they kept their data center alive and blogged the whole time. And then pretty soon, when it became apparent that things weren't right in the city, they were organizing and getting resources to the right places before the government agencies could respond. And it was sort of the first example that I really remember seeing a group of geeks sort of jumping up at the need of a community and responding and using their skills and talents and resources to help people. But it's happened. That wasn't the only time it's happened. It happened when we had the tsunami in India. It happened in Haiti. It's happening right now in Pakistan. And so I thought maybe there might be a way, instead of every time a crisis happens, that we kind of ad hoc this group together, that maybe we could figure out a way to make it a little more structured. And so about a month ago, I presented this idea in Seattle at GnomeDex, where I met Willow, and we were hosting my company was hosting a 24-hour hackathon in conjunction with GnomeDex, and getting groups of hackers together to build open government applications, like when someone wrote an application that sends you a text message when your house is on fire, stuff like that. And so we got a bunch of people together and gave out some prizes, and we did it at this hotel, and Willow was I met Willow and told her what we were doing. She was like, "Why are you doing it at the hotel? You know, spending a lot of money. You should do it at my makerspace up the street." And I was like, "What's a makerspace?" She's like, "I'll show you." So I went up and looked at it, and I decided that it might be a good idea to go around to other hackerspace and makerspaces spaces to talk about this idea. And so that's kind of what we've been doing for the last 4 weeks. It's only been 3 weeks, and so the idea behind WABORG is that to put basically when people are in situations where there's a catastrophe or some sort of crisis or neglect or violence, to take the natural problem-solving passion that geeks have and try to help that, not necessarily by sending geeks to areas, but using crowdsourced solutions and cloud-based solutions to let people help from their living room or their hackerspace or wherever they are that they feel most comfortable helping from. So the concept that I came up with is here we go, the digital mountaintop. Yeah. So the idea is that to create an open communications network, like a hub, that people can make requests for help to, and to make it easy to people to make requests, so we make it accessible via traditional communication methods, that being like cell phone, text messaging, voice, also Twitter, social media, Twitter, Skype, Facebook, really any method upon which someone would normally communicate. We want to expose this digital mountaintop so they can make requests for help in one of those situations where their lives or survival might be threatened. And then when they make those requests, that there would be some sort of a community of volunteers, which I call the Cloud Collective, that would listen to those requests and maybe get assigned to someone who can assess whether or not it's a real request, or separate the wolf cries from actual request, figure out what can be done, what resources can be either gathered or find sponsors or whatever, and to help resolve the issue. And someone had asked me what kind of requests could we solve? What kind of situations could we solve? And the answer that I have right now is that when there's a community in distress, we can sit here all day long and try to figure out what we think they're going to need, but really until they make that request, they tell us what they need. We can try to predict, but the one example that I came up with was I call water in the well, and the idea is, if let's say there's a well that's 5 miles away from a community, and someone has to travel 5 miles to every day to get water from that well. Maybe some days there is no water in the well, and wouldn't it be nice if they could, send some sort of an automated text message or something to tell them whether or not there's water in the well, to save the guy from making a 5-mile trip. And so these types of applications or solutions are fairly easy for us to develop and deploy from our perspective, but someone in that situation might not know that, using normal GSM communications, we could solve that problem very easily. And so the water in the well aspects are these applications that can be built that may talk to the digital mountaintop, and then the group of volunteers, Cloud Collective, can respond to them. There are a lot of groups that are already doing pieces of this that we've come across. There's a group called Crisis Commons that has been organizing to help respond to these types of crises. So we've been talking to them. We haven't been talking to the American Red Cross. We hope to be talking to them soon, and really help connect the dots of these different groups that are responding in different ways. Some of them are responding by sending people there. Some are responding by sending resources. There are companies that want to help by matching donations that employees give, and so everyone seems to want to help, and we want to try to figure out a way to make it easier to do so. And so really all this Digital Mountaintop, Cloud Collective, and the Water in the Well, really I think as I've gone through the idea is sort of a giant help desk, and to which people can make requests for assistance, and these trouble tickets somehow get assigned, and we haven't quite figured out how that piece is going to be built, or if somebody has already built it. But that's part of the reason why we're talking to hackerspaces and makerspaces, because it seems like every single one we visit, people are giving us ideas. Well, you should talk to this person, you should talk to this group, check out what these guys are doing, and that's kind of what we've been learning as we go. And also, we want to activate the hackerspaces and makerspaces to kind of use those groups, not use them, but ignite them as potential points of presence. So if there is a crisis in this community, then you guys become who the Cloud Collective listens to help, with resources or problem solving. And so
Kind of like setting up the network for the zombie apocalypse before
Right.
it actually happens.
Okay.
yeah. Yes, exactly. It's the zombie.
Not to make light of actual disasters, but
Right. Yeah. So, what can we specifically do soon? That right now we're going around talking to spaces. I made the announcement that on 10/10/10 we're going to announce what this thing is, and what the parts are. In the 24 hours leading up to that, we're going to kind of mirror the hackathon that we did in Seattle and do a multi-city, multi-space hackathon. We've got some sponsors together to give prizes. Tropo, the company that I work for, is offered $3,000 prizes to people who build applications that run on their API. And if you're associated with a hackerspace, the space and your app wins, the space will get an additional $1,000.
Cool.
So there's 3 of those prizes, and they're also giving away some iPads as well. And
What's
we're working on
the API do?
the Tropo API is it basically lets you take any normal web application and make it accessible via any multimodal communication. So you can.
Oh, that's a nice API.
Huh?
That's a nice API.
It's a what?
That's a nice API.
It's very versatile. It
Yeah.
lets you. You can make a Twitter bot. You can make an SMS application. You can make outbound phone calls. You can take inbound phone calls and collect data. And it's all free to develop. It works with Ruby and Python and PHP and JavaScript. You host the application on your web server, and you basically can map, a Twitter account to an application. You can map a Jabber or instant message, either Yahoo or GChat, to an application. You can map a real phone number to an application, and it's pretty cool stuff. And we have local phone numbers available all across the U.S. So I don't know if you've ever played with like Grand Central or Google stuff, but we kind of kicks all that ass in major ways. But anyway, the hackathon will start on the 9th and go for 24 hours. We've got several spaces that we've talked to have already said they're going to participate, and so we hope to be having, at least 10 or 11, maybe 12 groups that are working together on 24 hours and building cool applications. They don't have to be GlobalOrg applications, they could be open government applications. There are some, with the Tropo, you have to use their API in order to qualify for one of the prizes.
But if it's written for GlobalOrg, then it'll go on their GitHub,
Yeah.
regardless of what API
Okay.
is on.
True.
Which will also help in crisis situations. So instead of starting to write these programs from scratch every single time to help out, like the
You just have a toolkit.
yeah.
Huh.
Anyway, that's about the gist of
We
it.
should adapt some of our stuff that we have for the door entry system.
So that's about it. You can follow us on Twitter, join us on Facebook. Shannon actually has been joining us. She's been backpacking around the world and has sort of a network of travel bloggers that backpack and blog. And so they've been helping us trying to identify some of the first water in the well applications because they understand technology and what we can possibly offer, and they also are traveling in areas of the world that I've never been and have no understanding about what their local customs and culture and needs are. So that's how we're kind of starting, but we're hoping to leverage the other groups in addition that have footholds in communities around the world that can help, that we can start helping as well.
Cool stuff.
Cool. Thanks for your talk.
No.
What does our door system do besides Twitter that someone's going
Well, you can actually like remote in and unlock it. It'd be nice to be able to have a phone number that you can call and unlock the door.
Yeah, if you can already do it with Twitter, I mean, you could definitely, you can interact with normal DTMF, you can do speech recognition.
Well, we've got right now it's normal DTMF.
Yeah, what does it run